Detroit Lions fans, we are back. Detroit Den 313, Steve and Will. We got just all types of NFL things happening today. If you're a veteran that's got some game, they're just kicking you off of the teams right now. Like, I don't know what's happening. Just releasing guys, that letting guys trade, seek out trades. It's just crazy around the NFL right now. But before we get going, guys, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. We've been saying it. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, real close to that 10,000. When we get to that 10,000, it's going to be crazy giveaway. So we're not going to keep hammering it. You guys know what it is. But with that said, getting to the main thing, Steve, what we talking?
It's not a safe place for these veteran pass rushers today, Will. I don't know what's going on. Last night, some news kind of broke about Joey Bosa get released. We're going to talk a lot of names today. I don't want to just dive right into, name, but we'll kind of break this thing down one at a time. But I guess we'll start with the oldest news from about 24 hours ago is that the the Los Angeles Chargers are going to release Joey Bosa. Is that a player you might have your eyes on, Will? Because when I hear that Bosa name, I know what they could bring to the table. So how do you feel?
Joey Bosa excites me. He excites me, the idea of having him. There's just a lot of details that you got to think about before you talk about giving him a bag. How much money does he want? Because he doesn't participate in full football seasons. Let's start there. That's problem number one. He's only playing, I think the last 2 seasons, he's 7 games, 9 games. It's that just worries me. His age and his durability in combination also worries me. So
it was just real quick. This past year was 14 games. 2023 was 9. The year before that was 5.
Okay. So yeah, it just worries me, man. He doesn't play full football season. So yeah, you figure going into, I believe, wasn't it the last year of his contract? That's normally the year you're getting everything, trying to get that next contract, and you still don't play a full season. So I don't know, man, Steve. How much money is he going to want to come into his next team? That's the first thing that's on my mind. Number 2, how many years is he going to want his contract to be? Because at this point, he's at that shaky window where you can't sign a 1-year deal yet, because you mess around sign a 1-year deal, you put yourself in a situation to where all you're going to get is a 1-year deal. So I am lukewarm on Mr. Bosa for those reasons. And I truly believe, and Steve, you let me know how you feel, if my brother was playing in the NFL, right, I'm going to go play with my brother. So I haven't given this thing a whole lot of thought, because in my mind, he's going to play with his brother. The 49ers did some work today. I don't know if we want to get into that today, but they're releasing players too, maybe to make some room, for that contract that they're going to have to take on. But if it's me, it's going to be Bosa and Bosa on those ends, and this thing is probably already over. But playing the game, saying that he could potentially be available. Steve, what do you think? Are you interested?
This morning, you said lukewarm. This morning for me, I was probably like a nice simmer. Like I was simmering on Joey Bosa this morning, but some other things happened throughout the day that kind of caught my attention, and I'm glad we didn't jump the gun. I'm glad we got a little bit more information, and I think you're right. I think that if I had a chance to play with my brother in the NFL, that's something that would probably be pretty memorable. But I think he had an opportunity to get out of his contract with the Chargers before. He could have became a free agent and went to San Francisco and joined them then. So I mean, it is still a factor, but I don't know if that's like his number one priority. I don't know what his number one priority would be. I would assume at this point in his career, with him being 30 years old, when the season starts, it's either going to be winning or trying to get one last payday. It is a concern that he hasn't played a full season since ever. Well, I don't know. I can't remember when we went to the 17-game season, but he played 16 in 2021. So it's probably right around there, but he's only played in a full season 3 times. He hasn't put up double-digit sacks since 2021, 2.5 sacks, 6.5 sacks, 5 sacks last year. But I know that I don't even need to watch his tape to know what he brings to the table. All right. He's a high motor guy. He can produce. I know the stats say otherwise, but I think if he's not the guy, he'd be a great compliment to Aidan Hutchinson. But again, it's the durability thing for me. I think at this point in his career, he's screaming this is a Brad Holmes guy, a 1 year prove it deal. We saw it like with Marcus Davenport last year. It's kind of the same thing where, you know, we have questions about his durability. We have questions about his production. Can he come in here and play 14 games for the Lions? I think that would be a success, but I don't know. Well, I think I got some better options out there today after we sat around at work for a little bit and we were just scrolling Twitter and it was just boom, this player's released, boom, this player's released, boom, this guy wants a trade. So I think there's some better options out there now than there were last night. So my small simmer has come down to turn the damn oven off. I'm not interested in Joey Bosa. I don't want to get the water heated up. Will there's plenty of other guys to go out there and get.
I like that, but there is one. I feel like Joey Bosa has now created two problems because now that Joey Bosa is out of the picture, I think that the Chargers are going to go real hard at Khalil Mack. And what's most likely true is the Chargers and Khalil Mack have already had a conversation, and he's pretty much the deal is probably already done for the most part. So that's my worry that now a guy that we could have potentially gotten Khalil Mack on a 1 year deal is unavailable, and a guy that we could have potentially went after and Joey Bosa is probably going to go play with his brother. So that's two guys that could have potentially been productive for the Detroit Lions that are kind of out of the picture. So double whammy. Am I in tears about it? No, because there is other options out there, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about options, I mean, we mentioned the San Francisco 49ers. They've been a talk. I saw today that the San Francisco 49ers are going to release Javon Hargrave. Well, I think Javon Hargrave just became very high on my list. Okay. I'll ask you how you feel first because I kind of took the lead with Joey. So I'll let you still Javon from us. How do you feel about Mr. Hargrave?
As coming in as a role player, fine. Like, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think he probably is a starter with Lee McNeil being out to start the season.
Yeah, I get him being a starter on the field, but he's still going to be a role player. Immediately once he got released, I started watching film on last season, and I was like, it wasn't anything that was really moving me. And I don't know how him and DJ Reader will be next to each other. I don't know that they complement each other well. So I don't know, man. It's we do need to do something, and I think free agency is going to tell the tale. But there's guys that I would rather have than Mr. Hargrave, man. I think he's another one that's probably on the tail end of his career. I don't know what his money is going to look like either. So it's outside of just coming in and being a depth piece and us probably going still selecting somebody in a draft. I'm not huge on him, but
yeah, I don't think he's moving the needle for me, but I think he's more of a need just because of Lee McNeil's out. I mean, could we go out and draft a defensive tackle in the first round and replace a Lee McNeil until he comes back healthy? Absolutely. That'd be a route that I'm okay with too. So he's up there on my list, but again, I'm not crying if he signs somewhere else. I just think, we have a hole. He fills that hole. He's not going to be, Aaron Donald. He's not going to get double-digit sacks, and he's coming off a big injury too, where he only played 3 games last year. But other than that, he's been pretty much healthy and available most of his career. So he's durable, so that checks one box. But his production, I don't know. He's 32 years old. But I do think he would be a starter and then move into a role player once a Lee McNeil comes back. And I don't know. I mean, we could still, I think it would just give us some more options in the draft. We could draft another D tackle. We could draft a Walter Nolan, a Kenneth Grant, a Derek Harmon, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But I don't know. I just see that he's available. He fills a need, kind of replaces someone who's hurt for us. So I think I'd be okay with it, but I'm not like sprinting to the store to buy his jersey.
Whatever. I'm not going to say I'm ice cold, but whatever. I'm lower than lukewarm on Mr. Hargrave.
Room temperature?
Yeah, we'll say room temp. I like that.
Room temperature and lukewarm are almost the same thing. I don't really know what the big difference is, but you just not no interest in Hargrave. Who are you interested in? Well, any new names that we haven't really talked about yet?
People in the draft. And I know people keep hammering me like about that, but I'm not going to turn this into a draft show. But there's, I don't know. I can think of 5 of them off the top of my head, defensive tackles that I'm interested in. So, yeah, It's a very deep draft. So if you're asking me if I want to pay Mr. Hargrave a decent amount of money or just go select somebody and put them on a rookie deal, I'll go get Ty Robinson in the 3rd round. You know what I mean? Before I go and get Mr. Hargrave and have to pay him monies, man. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at. But no shade. Somebody will get him.
Are you nuts?
About what?
Trey Hendrickson requesting a trade today, Will? You're not interested at all? Not even a little, maybe a soft boil going on instead of lukewarm? You're not interested in Trey Hendrickson requesting a trade today?
I didn't say I wasn't interested in anybody. I said I wasn't interested in Mr. Hargrave. Now, if we're talking about Trey Hendrickson, listen, I did, and I typically I'm in the same boat as you, but I was just itching for some stuff. There was so much stuff going on, and I was kind of sad that we couldn't get on because we were working. So I was listening to Woodward earlier, and they were talking about.
Oh, Will, no, don't say that.
I'm just telling you the real, man. So it's rare that I do it, but
I would rather you tell me.
Wait, hold on. I was listening to the heavyweights. I like the heavyweights. Like I got no beef with the heavyweights.
I would rather you tell me you slept with my wife than you were listening to Woodward Sports today, William. I would rather you sit here and tell me that you are actually the father of my unborn child than you were listening to Woodward Sports.
Listen, somebody clip that into a short. But anyways, yeah. So I was listening to those guys, and they said something absolutely crazy today. So I'm gonna ask you how you feel about it. And guys, while Steve is answering, put your answer in the comment immediately right now. I gotta know this because this blew my mind. On Woodward, they said this, Steve.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, they would give up a 1st round pick to get Trey Hendrickson for 1 season.
No.
They would give up. Okay, so that's it. That was immediately my thought too, and it was across the board. Everybody was like, "Yeah, I would do it. Oh, I would do it too. I would do it too." I said, "I think that is absolutely bananas, man. I wouldn't even consider it. I can't believe it was suggested, man."
Fuck the tariffs, Will. Trump has to put a ban on people who get on and do podcasts and say that they're giving up a 1st round pick for a rental player in his 30s. I'm sorry. Will, I don't want to interrupt you, but yeah. I can't give up a 1st round pick for a guy he'll be 30 at midway through the season. Listen, I get it. His production is through the roof. I was calling for Trey Hendrickson last year at the trade deadline. If I'm not giving up a 1st round pick for Myles Garrett, I damn sure ain't giving up a 1st round pick for Trey Hendrickson. And I think that the Bengals are desperate. They just lost Sam Hubbard, who retired. They're losing Trey Hendrickson, who wants a trade. Their defense was already dog shit. Like, their defense is the reason they didn't make the playoffs, the Bengals. They literally have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. End of list. They have a nice running back in Chase Brown. But other than that, their defense is a bunch of just throw some dudes on the field. So Trey Hendrickson on a 1-year contract for a 1st round pick in this draft, Will, there's absolutely no way I would make that deal. I would just go out and draft someone in the 1st round. Like, hey, we might not get 17 and a half sacks, but 97 on our team might. And I've already got him under contract. I might sign him to that Max Crosby deal. Absolutely not. Those Woodward guys are fucking insane. And I usually do like the heavyweights. I usually really do, but didn't watch it. That's absolutely nuts to me.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was nuts as well. And then I just thought about it, and I hate to be, I don't know. A lot of times I feel like I'm always delivering bad news, or some people get in the comments and say that I'm nuts because I don't want Myles Garrett, or I never said I don't want Myles Garrett on this football team. And everybody knows probably about once every 2 months, I get on here and I dream about a player and we have a conversation, and I take everything off and I say, hey man, we're in the locker room, we're in the barbershop, we're just talking, we're just dreaming, we're just spitballing. When we're doing that, yeah, we can talk about these guys. But I would feel like I would be being irresponsible if I didn't say this. If we went out and we traded for Trey, he is due, I wrote it down earlier, he is due $15 million plus a signing bonus, so it'll be about $16 million you got to pay him. Not a big deal. If you're going to get 17 and a half sacks, heck, if you're going to get 10 sacks, I'll pay you that money. That's not a big deal. The problem is this. We mentioned it yesterday, and I'm going to bring it up again. Mr. Max Crosby just got $35 million, right? And Trey is leaving because he wants a new contract. that contract is going to be somewhere between 35 million and 25 million that he's going to want. Period. There's a guy who we talk about all the time was probably going to break the sack record last year. That's on our team in Aidan Hutchinson.
What did we say he was on pace for like 29 sacks or something like that before he got hurt?
Something crazy, right? And we understand, like, he gets hot, he gets cold. It might not have been 29, but it was going to be a whole lot, right? His contract starts at $35 million and $1. So if he wants $35 million and $1, because he's got to be, if he's going to be the best, he's got to get, this is how this thing works. You always get paid more than the guy that just got signed or whatever, if you're in that top conversation. So if he's going to get paid at Max's number, how are we going to pay Trey 30 million? Are we going to have 35 million and 30 million, 35 million and 20 million locked up in defensive ends? Just doesn't make sense to me. So what's the alternative? Trading a major pick to get Trey in for one season and then he goes and signs somewhere else? I don't think that's going to happen, because I think part of the negotiation for his trade is going to be a team willing to give him a contract extension. I don't think the Lions can or will sign up for that. Now, is there a creative way that maybe it could happen where you maybe take Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and you take Aidan and you start front loading and back loading and playing games with contracts? There might be a way, but there's still going to be sacrifices made. And what do you lose? Do you lose a Kevin Zeitler? Do you mess around and lose a Kirby Joseph? All right. Do you mess around and lose the opportunity to sign one of these guys like Sam Laporta or Brian Branch? What is going to what is going to be the cost? There's going to be a cost. So does that make more sense when you consider the big picture? Right? I don't think so. So I would suggest this. We get Trey out of our mind. We get, obviously, Max has shown he's not in the game. I get that we made phone calls on Myles Garrett. I just, it's still a far-fetched dream unless he's willing to do some contract magic, which I heard that he's willing pretty much to do anything that he needs to do to get a decent amount of money and get out of there. So that situation is a little bit of a different situation, but I'm still not going to say it's probable. So we got to just kind of bring things back down to what's really going on in Detroit. And that's guys like Khalil Mack, coming in on a one-year deal. That's guys like Calais Campbell. That's guys like Steve has locked and loaded for you guys here coming up. But these big names, man, it's just not probable. I'm not going to say impossible, but I'm going to say very unlikely.
The thought of Trey Hendrickson is very, very sexy. All right. But I'll tell you this, like, if you can look me in the eyes and say that you trade a first round pick for Trey Hendrickson and you guarantee that I win a Super Bowl, I do that deal 10 times out of 10. But there are no guarantees. All right. You could trade for Joe Montana in his prime, and there's no guarantees that you win a Super Bowl. You never know what's going to happen. The NFL season is long. It's brutal. Guys get hurt. We are true. We're more living proof that guys get hurt than any other team in the NFL the last 5 years. Okay. There are no guarantees. So for everyone that says, oh, if you trade a first round pick for Trey Hendrickson, he guarantees you a Super Bowl. I hope you're right. I truly, truly do. And trust me, I'll come on here. I'll eat crow. I'll drink beer out of a boot, whatever you guys want to do if I happen to be wrong. But I don't think there's any guarantees in this game. There's high probability. I think if you build this defensive line right and you unfortunately have to copy the Philadelphia Eagles and you just dominate the trenches on both sides of the football, that's the way to go. Does Trey Hendrickson help you do that? Absolutely. Is there about 3 or 4 guys in this draft that can help you do that? Absolutely. Now, they're not as proven. I know I have my track record with Hendon Hooker and some guys that I say are unproven, and that's how I feel about rookies. There's no guarantees with rookie either. So you can go out and you could trade for Trey Hendrickson and have a more sure thing. He's durable. He's producing. He's an absolute monster. He's a game wrecker. He does everything. Those first-round picks are just like gold to me, William. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I think some people got to put down the PlayStation controllers and turn off Madden because we aren't playing Madden here. Because if we're talking just picks, fine. Okay, send the first rounder. But now if I have to pay him $30 million at least, and I got to sacrifice Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, because Saquon Barkley just got a monster deal a couple days ago too, where he's getting $20 million a year. You don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to want in that same neighborhood of ballpark 20? Jahmyr Gibbs you might get for 19, and that might be a value. That might be a value. But if it's 21, I wouldn't be surprised. So we got some guys we're going to pay. And like Will said, when you trade for a Trey Hendrickson and you take on a $30 million contract, you're taking Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, and you're sacrificing probably one, maybe even two of those guys that won't be Detroit Lions because we won't have the money to sign them. So I don't know. We're just trying to paint the picture for you guys because the trade is just one aspect of it. You know, you got to think about the future. What's this team going to look like in 2-3 years when Trey Hendrickson's 33 years old and he's getting $30 million and maybe he's only putting up 7-8 sacks. Is that worth it? Because that's another risk. Like we see it all the time with bad hockey contracts, basketball contracts, baseball contracts. Javi Baez, worst contract in baseball history. We're still paying him $30 million a year or maybe even more to play AAA baseball. Now, that's a different sport. I get it. But you get stuck with the bad contract, it takes this rebuild and it resets it hard. And we're going to go – it's going to be ugly. So Brad's got to really know what he's doing here. I trust him.
Yeah. One last thing that I'll say to speak to this whole get a big-time guy opposite of Aidan Hutchinson. Okay. Let's say we get Trey opposite of Aidan Hutchinson. Okay. What if the San Francisco 49ers just go get Joey Bosa? So now they got Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa. And now what if the Philadelphia Eagles do what they've been trying to do and go get Myles Garrett? So now they got Jalen Carter, Myles Garrett, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis. Like, do they automatically win the Super Bowl? I feel like we get locked into these things to where if we get a marquee guy opposite of Aidan Hutchinson, we're going to be the only team in the league that's did something special. It's a copycat league. It's the reason why these guys are available right now. Right? It's a reason why nobody was paying running backs until they started paying running backs. And now you're going to see running backs get paid. James Cook's going to get paid. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get paid. Right? We're going to see a trend of running backs start to get played because it's a copycat league. It's a trend league. It's none of this stuff is special. If we go get every single sport, when a team does something, when the NBA started doing big threes, then every team started doing big threes and guys started. There has to be an answer for what goes on. So let's consider the big picture. And I suggest that we just focus on what our GM has already told us the plan is. It's going to be to make phone calls every time. He's going to make phone calls every time because we got to see what the landscape is and what's going on. And is there a way to finesse your way in? Absolutely. He's going to make the call. But if it don't make sense in the big picture, it's not going to happen. So, Steve, I think you got somebody that could potentially make sense. So who else you got?
My free agent guy?
Yep.
I have not heard this name anywhere. I've had him in my back pocket for a little while. Malcolm Koonce of the Las Vegas Raiders is someone that I've got an eye on. All right. He's coming off a knee injury. He injured his knee at training camp. I think it was like 3 days before the Raiders home opener last year. And he was coming off an 8 sack season. He's young, a rookie deal still. I'd have to look up how old he is. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I want to say he's like 23, maybe 24. 8 sacks winning. Was that?
He's 26.
26. No, that's still a young man. 8 sacks going into this past season. He gets hurt, banged up. They were expecting him to come back maybe later in the season, ended up shutting him down. They're not re-signing him. I'm taking a look. I'm taking a real hard look at a kid that's 26 with 8 sacks coming off a knee injury. I get it. You know, it's a question mark. It's a Brad Holmes type move. Okay. Go get a young player with some talent, with some pass rush, sign him to a friendly deal. I think we might be able to get him for about, oh God, I hate doing the contract talk when there's really just no market, but I would guess around, do you have the number? Let me guess. Am I close?
Yep.
Okay.
You can guess if you want.
I'll say he's probably looking at $12 million a year. Am I close?
So here's the deal. I'm going to say yes and no. And this is why. So initially I looked at him because I'm just one of those, I don't want to say bored, but I just love watching film, man. So I go to that list of guys and I just start watching film. And then if I go through and I start liking what I see, then I'll start watching games and then I'll just go down a rabbit hole. So I started looking at him and I started enjoying some of the things that I was seeing, especially because I feel like he fits the Detroit Lions. He fits that Sam linebacker edge type, hybrid type guy. He can do multiple things. So I was like, ooh, I kind of like this dude. But then the 8.5 sacks is a problem because when I started looking at market value, his market value was $20 million a season, right? So, and multi-year. So we're looking at probably $60 million, $55 million over 3 years is probably what we're looking at for somebody 26 years old. He's about to turn 27, but he's probably going to want to get a contract that takes him into 30 years old. Now, why am I still entertaining it? Because he ends up 3 days before the game or the team opener, right? Goes down with a knee injury, misses the whole last season. Now, negotiations are in the air. It depends on what he's willing to take, what teams are willing to give him. So, what that market is looking like for him. It only takes one team to decide, hey, you're worth that 20, 19, 18 million for some team to do it. But if everybody is at a consensus, like, hey, listen, we're going to offer you 12, 13 million, whatever the case may be, then it could work. So I will say that I am very interested in him at 12, 13 million dollars. Like if we could finesse a deal, or if we could pay a little bit more and get him to sign a deal for a prove it season, prove to me that knee is okay, because that's ultimately the bottom line. When you're in negotiation with this guy, you got to say, hey, listen, man, we're going to sign you to a long-term deal. If you continue to be an 8-sack guy and a guy that fits right into our defense, don't worry. We're going to sign you. You don't got to worry about that. But you got to prove to me that knee is 100% healthy and you're back to being that 8-sack guy, because he wasn't just an 8.5 sack guy. He was an 8.5 sack guy who was starting to figure it out. When I started watching this film, Steve, I was drooling.
He's still a young pup.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, listen, I am supremely interested in this young man, being that he is going to be coming back as himself. If he is, I would be willing to pay him something fair. Now, bottom line is this: we can't afford to be paying him $20 million a season. It's just not in the cards. But if he agrees to take a deal and we can get him for multiple seasons for something like, 11, 12, 13 mil, very interested. I think he would fit the Detroit Lions scheme and he would be a quiet killer. He'd probably be one of those guys that we sign and people go, who is that? Who is that? Whatever. So
he's probably in my top 5 free agents. And I know that there's a question mark with the knee injury, but I mean, people get hurt. People get knee injuries. It's the NFL. Like, it happens. So, like you said, he was starting to figure it out. Young kid, 6'3", 250. He'll be 27 when the season starts. So, why not take a hard look at him? Like, his last season, 17 games played, 8 sacks. The year before that, he played 17 games, but he was still kind of figuring out. He wasn't a starter, kind of came in like spot scenarios, didn't get any sacks that year. So, I don't know. I think if Brad's calling that agent and there's like a $14-15 million offer out there for maybe 2-3 seasons, I'd be comfortable with it. I might not love the 3 years, but that could be very, very, very high reward, because it's fun to talk about Trey Hendrickson and his 17.5 sacks. We don't need a defensive end who's going to get 17 sacks on the opposite side of Hutchinson. It's great if we do, but it's not what this team needs, in my opinion. I think we need a guy who can get about 10 sacks throughout the length of the season. I don't think Lee McNeil's ever going to hit double digits, and that's fine. But Hutch is going to flirt with 20. He'll flirt with 20 sacks. If you get another guy next to Lee McNeil that puts up 9, 10, maybe up to 12 sacks, that's perfect. I think Koonce could fit that category, and he doesn't change anything in my draft strategy either. He's just another guy I can plug in and get after the passer. Young kid, can play a couple positions. If I'm Brad, I'm bringing him in for at least an interview, and I'm saying, hey, I don't know what my team doctors are all doing today, but you guys are going to come to this interview. We're going to sit down and look at some MRIs, some x-rays, make sure everything's healed properly. There's no questions about it before we sign this contract. Put him through a little workout. All this contract stuff will be pending physical, but I think he's a gem that nobody's really talking about. I have not seen his name anywhere.
When I consider the way you can write contracts in the NFL now, the contract doesn't even worry me, because I would give him a lump sum of money.
Signing bonus.
And then I would have his contract be all incentive based on him playing X amount of games, based on him having X amount of sacks. Like, it would be bonuses written all over that thing. Just us getting into this podcasting and starting to learn really how contracts work. When you look at a contract and a guy is, hey, he's getting 20 million, 30 million or whatever, that doesn't mean that's the money that he's getting. you know that he got that signing bonus, whatever that was. He got that, right? And then on top of that, you know, in that base salary, you got to start if they've talked about it. Sometimes they'll post it and they'll talk about some of the incentives that are inside of that contract. There's so many things, making weight, you know, being at OTAs. There's all types of things. Making sure you don't play video games, you know, a certain amount of time if you're Kyler Murray. Like there's all different types of things. That
Here, iPad time better be logged in for 4 hours a day.
Absolutely, man. So there's all different types of things that you can write into those contracts. So you could definitely write a contract to where he had to be healthy to, you know, recuperate the money that he, you know, to the full complement of that contract. So that doesn't worry me. I think he's a young guy with a ton of potential. Silent assassin, Steve, you found one, man, that I really could be excited about, man. Like I say could be because that money's got to be right though. I'm not paying with 20 mil, but you get that dude in here 12 million, Steve. If he's a Lion for 12 million, man, I'm gonna come over to the house and we're gonna do what we do and we celebrate things.
Go to bed because that's how I celebrate. I got a strict 9:30 bedtime, William. Strict. So
right.
Anyone pulls into the Perkins house past 9 o'clock, we're gonna have a problem. Okay, you better call ahead.
We'll save our celebration stories for another day.
Anything else for tonight?
No, that's it, man.
I got one last thing. The death of Andy Isaac. All right. If you guys know, I'll just say this: Andy Isaac, longtime Detroit Lions, Detroit sports fan in general, passed away today. I won't say that I ever had the chance to meet him, but everything I've seen on social media was how great he was and what a happy guy he was. So it sucks to hear that. Thoughts and prayers to his family, and let's rally behind this and get a Detroit Lions Super Bowl so he can have a hell of a celebration up there in heaven next season when we're bringing home the trophy.
No, that's right. And fuck the Bears.
Fuck the Bears. Saturday. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.